Hey guys, welcome to Young Money. I'm Nozi Ponbandra and this is CNBC Africa's freshest and youngest show. It's the show about us, the ones who want to go beyond the hustle, the ones who are intent on breaking the bank. Now tonight we're going to be focusing on how South Africa can breed a generation of younger entrepreneurs, and we're having this conversation with Christo Botes, Executive Director at Business Partners, and we also catch up with the gentlemen from Man E Fest, and they've taken it upon themselves to add some style and pizzazz to the corporate environment. Remember that if you want us to bring the Young Money crew to you, all you need to do is drop us a tweet. The hashtag is YoungMoney410. Following me at The Real Nosy and of course at CNBC Africa. Let's get to breaking the bank. Now we're sitting down for our Now We're Here segment. We're sitting with the co-founders of Manifest, that's Waseef and Khalib, and talking to me about how the idea of a sock business actually came about. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making the time. Lovely display of your product, but it doesn't start here. Talk to me about where the idea actually initiated from.
So, in a number of years back, Waseef and I were sort of avid shoppers of colourful men's socks. You know, we started out at the traditional retailers, and we got to a point where we found that the product was just not funky enough for us, not young enough for us. You know, the retailers very often started out with something which was very trendy and funky, and then eventually they toned their product down. And we found that we were running into a bit of a dead end when it came to, you know, traditional trendy, funky, loud, colourful socks. And I think, you know, we'd been talking about the idea of our own brand for a while. Some months later, you know, through retrenchments in corporates, both Waseef and I were both retrenched. And yeah, one Sunday afternoon we decided to sell this idea together.
Was the retrenchment the tipping point, Waseef, or was there just a culmination of so many factors that just made this feel right?
So I mean, we've been wanting to do this for a while. We've been talking about it, and we had a list of things that we wanted to explore, and the socks has always kind of been on top of the list. We both, so I'd left my job in November last year, then I joined a new company, and 3 months later my contract was terminated. For me it was kind of a sign. It was a sign.
Get out.
Get out, do your own thing, stop depending on people to kind of create your own life, your own wealth, your own kind of
So the world
existence.
pushed you into this
Yes.
particular space, and now what was the experience about actually getting into this market, given the fact that this really appears to be a very niche play that you've got?
It's incredibly niche. I think what sort of pushed it for us was that it was a passion, as opposed to, you know, throwing together an idea of a quick money making scheme. You know, this is something where we would actually have our hearts into, and I think within days we had thrown together essentially a business plan.
Yes.
Wow.
We'd started making contact with manufacturers, we'd started looking at designs, and I think we surprised ourselves at the end of month one we had actually had a business already.
Yeah.
Purely because we'd been talking about it for 3 years prior to the actual event. And
I mean, we started I think in the beginning of April.
yeah.
We have had working days, full working days since then. Every single day, full working days. Suppliers, manufacturers, marketing, advertising engagements. It's been such a fun experience, and I think coming from our backgrounds where we were just confined to one thing, this kind of just opened up so much for us.
What about the demand though? I mean, getting into the space, what was the experience of the other people that were in the space, and what was it like fighting for market share?
Okay, so essentially what we did was we'd obviously been shoppers of this type of product for a long time. We identified a bit of a gap. You know, so you know, there are other players in the market, and they make great product, but we'd worn some of their product, and we found that there were gaps in the sense that the quality may not necessarily have been where we would have liked for it to have been. And by virtue of that, we identified our gap.
I'm going to test your quality, so I'm going to just grab one.
Yes,
and,
please.
So when you say that it's a test of quality, what am I looking for? What is it that differentiates a good quality sock from one that's going to have a hole in the top toe in a couple of weeks?
Okay, so we've done some market research where we've spoken to potential clients and consumers, where they've, for example, taken a sock and they're saying a test for them generally is when they're taking the cuff of the sock.
Yes.
You know, when you're giving it a bit of a stretch, it feels like it's going to give. after a couple of washes,
And
you
this
find
certainly feels like there's quite a bit of resistance here.
it's a decent elastication in there. Also key is that you don't use too much elastication in your sock, because you know, after a couple of washes, especially when there's a bit of heat involved, elastication doesn't wear well. So we go with the minimum elastication possible, but enough to actually give the sock support for the lifetime of the sock.
What am I supposed to feel when I put this on? Because this is the test for me. What am I supposed to feel?
Holly will probably have the more technical reasoning for you, but I talk in pictures and concepts and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling home. I'm feeling soft. I'm feeling home.
Okay, home.
Home.
Okay, I'm gonna
comfort.
try this.
I'm feeling just sheer. The word sheer comes to mind.
I know these aren't for ladies, but
they
Why
look
not?
pretty good on a lady.
I feel home.
Do you feel home?
I feel home.
And
so
that's
quality
really
is
what we want to
awesome, because the feel of the sock as well.
Okay, so
It's got quite a nice smooth feel. In fact, even more smooth than I would expect for a man's sock.
yeah. So Nazi, what you've got on there is in fact a bamboo yarn sock. We've got two ranges. We've got the bamboo yarn. We've got a cotton yarn. The bamboo yarn is the more refined product. It's a silkier feel. It's a thinner yarn than what cotton is. It's got a whole host of properties which are just hugely beneficial. It's anti-allergy, so even myself, I mean, I could wear the sock for a full day and sniff the sock after a day, and it actually won't smell like you've worn the sock.
No.
So
You're
you don't have
telling
to do
me
it.
that these
Try
are like literally non-smell socks,
They're non-smell socks.
Non-smell.
So-
Antifungal,
Antibacterial,
anti-smell.
anti-smell.
Let's talk about the retail price, because now this sounds like I'm going to pay an arm and a leg, excuse the pun, for this, if it comes with all these benefits. On average, what is the range?
So we price our socks between 149 and 179. I think that's pretty competitive with good quality socks out there. Ours, however, is better than the good quality out there.
Is this an entry level 149, or is this a luxury Rolls Royce 179?
That's a luxury product you wear.
Luxury product you wear.
This is a 179.
That's a 179.
As we wrap up the conversation, Khalif has his arm in a sling, and you're talking about playing with crayons. Did you guys have a creative fight? What happened? Why is he in a one? Why is he the one-armed bandit today?
We differed on the giraffe. Should it be a giraffe or a zebra? And I poked him with a knitting needle.
So I'm limited to designing left socks.
You're limited to designing left socks. Thank you so much for your time. How can South Africa breed a generation of young entrepreneurs? This is the question I'm posing to Christo Botes, Executive Director at Business Partners. Christo, thank you for making the time to join us. I think it's a very important question because it focuses on the how. Everybody talks about how everybody has the ability to be an entrepreneur, but where do you start? And what is a national perspective of looking at it? Where do you think as a country we should be focusing on?
Yeah, Waseef, I think it's seriously important that we immediately make changes to just the way we live, just the way we treat our young people, because they can really break out, you know, and we want them to break out. Now, just imagine for a moment our schooling system is working towards you creating jobs and not looking for a job. You're not a job seeker. I am an entrepreneur. I'm going to create jobs. And just the mindset change in the young person, wonderful. But our schooling system doesn't allow for it.
Let's talk about that, because this is an argument that we hear time and time again. Is it a matter of changing the curriculum, or is it a matter of changing other elements within the schooling system that gets young people to stop going to school for the purposes of getting a job?
You know, curriculum, yes, it can be changed, but they can have a subject for entrepreneurship. I don't think that's making the big difference. It is the whole approach to schooling. How do you coach a person? How do you take them? In all the subjects, you can have a combined project. Even in your language classes and so on, you can have an entrepreneurial approach. You know, it's important to be well versed, to put your case. So how do you put your case? How do you, what's your composure, etc. You know, self-confidence, etc.
Christo, do we have best practice examples of other markets that have gotten this right, where the young people are being assertive in their approach, are being entrepreneurial in everything that they take on?
Yes, most definitely. Even in this country, in some of the private schools, you find it, that the whole approach of the school, it's a business. And I'm also an entrepreneur in this business as a school-going person. But I think you know, we're not going to change that overnight. Let's rather start at home. What do you talk about when you're at the dinner table? Or don't you talk, you know? So, and what's the talk about around the dinner table? The parents should actually start to talk about, hey, what's your business going to be? What's the markets doing? You talk about the business world, you talk about current issues without focusing too much on politics and all the other peripheral issues. Focus a little bit on where's the next money going to come from in this household. You know?
But it sounds to me like it's one part of the equation, because that's about the environment that creates an entrepreneurial mindset. The other part of the equation, of course, is the young people and how they engage with this environment. Do you get a sense that the young people in South Africa want to be entrepreneurial, that they want to be entrepreneurs, that they want to be generating money in their own way?
I am sure there are, many of them. So they must ask themselves questions. Am I passionate? Am I a perseverer? Do I want to do it? Can I make a difference? And if an entrepreneur or a young person is making out those things to themselves, or am I scared? No, I want to be rather play it safe, be a job seeker rather than a job creator, being an entrepreneur. Then so be it, you know, because not all of us can be entrepreneurs, but I think there can be many more. And that is why the people must ask themselves that question. But you need to create the environment around the dinner table, around an environment where it is smart to be an entrepreneur.
There's this stat though, Christo, that's always put out there, that about 80% of all businesses, startup businesses, especially when they're being started up by young people, never live beyond their second year. So it's a very scary space, and it's a very risky space for an entrepreneur standing on the outside. Do you think that there's enough support for young people who want to be entrepreneurs so that they don't become a part of this high failure rate that we're seeing in the statistics?
You know, the failure rate could be reduced, but if you fail, don't lie down and stay there. Stand up, try again, because you've learned something now. Why did I fail? And I'm not going to make the same mistake again. And a real entrepreneur will try again. Will say, but listen, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to make a difference. And that is the key to this whole thing. In other words, you need people, young people, that say, I can do it and I will do it. And even if I fall, I will stand up and do it again. And then also our support structure, the structures that we put in place, we must allow people to fail. And even the banks, the parents, they must say that, okay, there is a margin for error, but let's support them, because that is the thing of the future.
Christo, thank you for your time. Allow a margin of error, because that is what entrepreneurship is all about. Business ideas would inevitably fail. The trick is in getting up and trying again. A very big thank you to Christo Botes, Executive Director at Business Partners. And that's all we have time for again tonight. Thank you so much, guys, for making the time to join us. Remember, if you want the Young Money crew to come to you, all you need to do is drop us a tweet. The hashtag is YoungMoney410. Of course, following me at The Real Nosy and at CNBC Africa. Let's make sure we're building empires, we're building Madibas, and of course, we're building businesses. See you next time.